Hi, loves. Welcome to a new episode of AW Confidential. Today, I'm excited about all my guests, but I just love this woman. She is a gem. Ella es una persona bella, por fuera y por dentro. Glency Feliz is
Oh,
a is a digital creator with a zest for life and fashion. The Dominican entrepreneur's social media is a curated collection of her favorite looks, travel, moods, and helpful tips. Not only is her content useful and entertaining, it's also engaging and real. She keeps her community tight by staying true to herself and sharing some of her most vulnerable moments. This beautiful Latina is using her platform to share her journey of mental health and hopefully, with it, remove some of the stigma that has been ingrained in our culture for decades. Glency is with us today to talk about this journey and about how she made the decision to share such a personal piece of her life and her why. There are millions of people struggling with their mental health, and I have battled my own, as has Glency. So, first of all, I want to thank you for being here, love.
hi, thank you. You know what? I'm gonna record that part and I'm gonna put it on my daily affirmations because that sounded so dope what you just said. Thank you
Oh my,
so much. I'm so
you're very
excited.
welcome.
I know people probably don't know this, but we just had a call and we clicked. And even though we haven't known each other for so long, I'm telling you, you're my girl. You're my girl. I can
Oh,
feel those vibes. I can feel that energy. And I'm super grateful to be here. Thank you
oh.
for having me.
And I have to share with you, she's a little under the weather and she's still here. So thank you. Um, you know, you have battled and I've talked about my depression. You've battled with your own challenges and then you went through all this and we'll talk a little bit about what happened, but then you decide to turn on the camera and share this intimate part of your life on your social platform.
Yeah.
And that takes courage, it takes vulnerability. And I want to know, as a public figure with, I think you have close to 1 million followers or more, or something like that.
Between the platforms, like 700, something like that. Yeah.
So, how do you make this? I mean, it's a big decision. So, I want to kind of get an idea. How do you come to that decision? And why did you feel it was important to take this step? And then I have another part to that question.
I'm gonna be completely honest because that's Glency. I think there's a saying, a Dominican saying that when you're in heaven your mom is about to birth you, whatever, and you go to different places. And I don't think that they gave me a lot of filter. So I was late to the line of the certain amount of filter a person has to have. And they gave me in honesty a whole bunch. Somebody was missing in that line. I didn't really think about it, to be honest. I was just so involved and I was having such a hard time. And now that I see it, like after the years, it was probably because I never saw anybody talking about mental health. It's important for me to tell you that it's been 12 years dealing with my mental health. And I remember the first time they would tell me in my family, shh, 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 cállate, cállate. Don't say anything. People are going to say you're loca, you're crazy. And I've always been like, I always stand to what I believe, and I'm very like, you have to do your thing and be loyal to who you are. I was like, no, like I imagine I didn't know anything about mental health, so I was like, it's like if you're sick, I don't know. My dad, he's diabetic, so I was like, it's like if you need your sugar. I imagine, and I didn't know anything about mental health, but that bothered me a little bit, and it was like the stigma, and like everybody was like, are you okay? Like they would ask me, and I once overheard a conversation like, oh, porque se le fue la chaveta. That means like she's going crazy. And that was really hard on me because I didn't understand what I was going through and I already felt judged. So imagine that, like my
Oh.
mom is literally, she has months to live because her cancer was already, there was nothing we could do. And for the first time, I have a panic attack and I start to deal with mental health. So it wasn't something I thought about. It was something I just did because I think I needed to speak what I was going through. And I did it after somebody mentioned, and they were like, "Oh, you're so lucky. Like you travel so much for work." That was the first
Mhm.
moment I actually made it public. And I was like, no, honey, let's go. Come on. I want you to see everything that's behind, and that probably you have your head above water more than I do. So it wasn't something I thought about. It was just I was really struggling. I was really struggling.
And thank you for sharing that. I'm curious, from that moment where you turn on the camera and you shared this part of your life, how has your life changed since that moment, since that day?
Ooh, look, I get goosebumps.
I
I get
do too.
goosebumps. That
I'm gonna
was
try not to cry.
that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I would talk to everybody about mental health. I've always been, I don't shut up. Well, as you can see, we had a phone call
I know.
and
We spoke for like 2 hours the first time you
yeah,
picked up the
like
phone.
I talk a lot, especially if it's something that I think in one way or the other I can help, or maybe you can even feel a little bit, I don't know, calmed with speaking to somebody. So it has changed so much because I've seen the impact that that video made on a whole community. I never, in my mind, it blew my mind, knew there were so many people struggling with mental health. O sea, I can't even tell you how many DMs, how many people will send me video, voice notes, eh, conversations telling me thank you so much because I have, this was a long time ago, so it's not like now that that it's, thank God people talk a lot about mental health. I'm saying this was like probably 10 years ago.
Wow.
9 years ago, sorry, 9 years ago.
So no one had really talked about it yet.
Nobody. And I do remember that when I started to talk about mental health, when the first time I did it, well, I had an acquaintance that after I started to share my journey, actually called me and they were like, oh, Glency, you shouldn't do this because brands are going to start to see you like, another way. And people are going to start to talk and they're going to, how mental health people think they say you're crazy, and it's true. I understand the crazy part, but I was like, I can't hide who I am. I can't. It's not an option. So I know a lot of people, and there was a lot. And I think it's just because, thank God, my parents in that aspect, they showed me a lot of a not to let other people's opinions get to me. But there was a lot of making fun of me on social media. Yeah, and there was a
Really?
lot of, yeah, they were like, "Oh my God, la loca," or crazy, because nobody was talking about this, and I was like talking about everything, and they were like, "Oh my God, she's medicated. Oh my God," like I'm not crazy. La loca
Oh my
was my
god.
my nickname for a long time.
Well, I'm sorry. That's just
But it is what it is. I wouldn't change. I
made you
mean,
stronger.
absolutely nothing. I would not.
So we all have struggles, stress. We get the blues, our nerves get the best of us, our emotions get out of control. And it's, I don't know, it seems like nowadays it's easier to crash, like mentally, emotionally, and finally physically, because it does catch up to you. And everyone has a different breaking point. What was your breaking point and how did you recognize it? Because I think there's a lot of people, in our community that might not recognize their breaking point.
Well, I've had a lot of different stages in what my mental health journey has been. I've had panic attacks, I've had depression, I've had general anxiety. I've had good times, I've had really, really bad times. I've been hospitalized. I've been like there's a lot in my
Wow.
mental journey. And I do the first thing I'm gonna tell you is when I the reflection I see in the mirror, it's like I don't recognize it. I don't know how to express it because it's you, but it's something in myself like that I'm like, no, 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 this is not Glency because I'm usually a very
Oh my god. That as soon as you said that, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I actually included it in my book when
Mhm.
I don't mean to cut you off, but when I was
No,
going
no,
through
no,
my
great.
depression, I remember there's a part in the book where I wrote about it. I looked at the reflection in the mirror and it wasn't me. I know that sounds
No.
crazy. It
Look,
wasn't me.
I get goosebumps again.
It's when you know who you know when something's wrong. You know
Definitely.
if you're paying attention. So, oh no, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Like you're telling me this, and I would love like if the camp because I'm completely with goosebumps.
Ugh,
It was like I one of my because I've been through good times. I have to be honest, but I've been through really dark and bad times, and it's like the last time where I had to get medicated again and in treatment. Like I looked in the mirror, and it wasn't even something physical. It was like it wasn't me. It was like I don't know, like distorsión de imagen. eh, I was like, no, this is not Glency. I
mhm.
wasn't smiling. I wasn't laughing. Nothing gave me joy. And I just had a baby. So, like
I
it
know.
was it was very complex because I have this beautiful blessing and I was just sad. I just wanted to be in bed all day. I just wanted to be in my pajamas. I would only work. I was like in a functional work anxiety depression because I would work. I didn't stop working. And I was just, it was horrible because as soon as I would stop working, I would go back to this person that I, I'm going to be honest, I started to hate. I started to hate that Glancy. I started to like be so angry with what I was becoming and that version of me that I repelled myself. It's crazy to put
No,
it in words.
Glency, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it is it's a really dark place. And when have been able to get ourselves out of that, do you have any idea like how strong you are?
I thank you. I think that sometimes we have to have people like you in our way to actually remind us because we're so hard. I don't, well, I'm very hard on myself. And when I went through my last big fall, I was extreme. Like I would not talk to a person or even be close to a person that would talk to me like I used to talk to myself. So it was honestly it was the worst. Like I think about it and I would never ever want to be there. Never in my life. Don't get me wrong. I don't have everything put together. No, I don't. I'm still struggling with my mental health. It's been a 12-year journey. But that specific moment, those months, I would never want to be there again. Never in my life.
And I think it's important to, as a Latina, Dominican, we are taught this mentality of self-sacrifice of
Yeah.
I got this no matter what is going on. I remember my mom, may she rest in peace. I got this. And
Yeah.
I started doing the exact same thing as an adult woman. Oh no, I got this. And we've normalized it like we don't need help. And get
Definitely.
we all need some help. All of us. Now, how did you get to that point where you felt like, I need help. I need to reach out. How did you get there? Because I know that when I was going through my depression,
Mhm.
for some reason, the worse I felt, the more I alienated myself.
Yeah. I completely understand you because I went through that too. It was me and my little bubble. Me and my little bubble. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to speak to nobody. I didn't want to do anything.
My daughter was 4 years old at the time when I had this breakdown, and she called it my cave, and it was very
My
dark
gosh.
in there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like that's your safe place. It's like, I don't know if this happens to you, but it's incredibly funny because and my therapist explained it to me. I see the same movie over and over and over again. It calms me down. I'm super scared of flying. Obviously, I have control issues. And I see the same movie over and over again. And when she explained it, both of them, I have an amazing psychiatrist and a psychologist as well. It was like, it's because it's your safe place. So that cave was your safe place. And my home was my safe place. Like, I don't go out so much. Like, people will see me on social media and they see me, I'm so bubbly and all over the place and happy. And I am like that, but I am like that in my home. So it has been like a little journey to get out of that. So I completely understand that part. I completely understand that. Okay, so now back to the question. What was the question? I'm sorry, I forgot.
The question was, how did you get to that place where you knew you're like, "I have to reach out. I have to
Oh,
get
okay.
help."
Well, it was the first time because at when this first happened, my mom was in coma. So my mom literally, we didn't know if she would live till the next day. So we were all out. She was in intensive care and she was put in an induced coma. And the doctor said, he's like, look, we don't know. Like, this is day by day. Let's see what happens. And I was sitting down and it's incredible. My head started to explode. It was like I was screaming. It was like I was just mirroring exactly what happened to my mom. And it was all in my head. And this is when it started. So after that, I didn't know about mental health. I didn't know about panic attacks. I didn't know. But it kept on happening and happening and happening until one day I noticed that I had been like 24 hours without sleeping. And I was like, this is super weird. And the other day, exactly the same. I was like, like I would sleep for an hour or something. And, I was like, what is wrong? The third day, I had a physical collapse. So this was in my room and it was crazy. That was when they actually, ¿cómo se dice? Me internaron.
Um,
Eh, oh my God.
Admitted you.
Yeah, that's when they admit me. You 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 can imagine how crazy that was in Dominican Republic to
Oof,
know that I was,
scary.
yeah, no, and it's like, oh my God, she is in a
I'm thinking about
psychiatric
you, never
ward.
mind what everyone else what everyone else is saying.
So, like, no, because I didn't have contact with nobody. So when I was in there, like, it was one moment that told me, okay, you have to this is something, and I'm so grateful for this person. He is my compadre. It's whole, my husband, one of my husband's best friend, that we have a good relationship. So he did go to see me, and the nurse comes in and she's like, "Oh, like it's time for your pill, whatever." And she gives me the pill and she says, I have to see under your tongue." And when that happened, I already had been, pulling my tongue up. I didn't, yeah, I'm drinking, I'm swallowing. And then when the nurse left, he looked at me and he said, "I love you. I love Ruben. I wish he can see this because he doesn't know that he changed my life." Well, he knows what I told him. And he said this in Spanish, "Glency, you are stronger than this. Tú no eres de ahí. And this is not a disability. Esto es una fortaleza."
Oof. Oh
And
gosh.
he gave me like, I get why. Oh my God, I don't want to cry.
Oh,
And he gave me the permission to be in that situation, but he also gave me the other side of the game. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
do.
he's like,
I felt that.
"It's okay. I was seeing. I know that he was seeing what I was going through." And he knew, like, "It's okay, but I know that you can get out of this."
That was
So
an angel
when
for that was an angel.
so when Ruben told me that, that was my breaking point. That was like, okay, I have to put as much effort as I can to get out of here. And I did. I got
And
out
we
of at
and
least a
we
clinic.
and we're all very grateful for that.
I still have my struggles. I always like to say that. I think depression and anxiety, which is my main issue, I think it's like when you're an alcoholic, that you're like an alcoholic for life. I wish it's not like that, but there's anything can trigger your mental health. So
Yeah.
I'm very careful, and I always tell people, "Hey, this is a struggle, and this is something I'm going to deal for life." And I say this because if I don't anymore, that is freedom. But to know that I have my feet and my head where I have to have it, and accept it and hug it and know it's part of me, and not to give it this power and not to put a time on it. No, it's going to be 3 months. No, it's going to be 6 months. No, I already forgot about the time. What is important for me is that I embrace this. This is who I am. And I know that at the end, I'm always going to be winning the game because I'm good. I'm the one that's on top of it.
You're a winner. You are a winner. Now, you are also, aside from a winner, you're one of 13 children,
13 children, girl.
and they're brothers, right?
Brothers, yeah. Well,
How many?
there's like, yeah, they're mainly brothers.
Okay. So your mom passed at a young age,
Yeah.
and I was reading an article the other day that the our emergency rooms are filling up with young people struggling with mental health now more than ever. And it's a big concern. I mean, not to mention our adult population, but we're seeing more of the anxiety, depression in younger people,
Yeah.
and just everything that comes with it. And I'm wondering, I'm a mom, you're a mom, there's a lot of us that are parents.
Mhm.
How do you think, as parents, can we help our children more? How can we do better with what we have? Because I
Yeah.
think, like you said, some people might see it as a weakness, but I think overcoming what we've become, it's a strength,
It's
it's
our
a
superpower,
superpower.
girl.
So how do we help our children, our friends' children, everyone listening who has children? How can we help with our experiences, um, help them through their struggles?
I think the most important thing is something so simple. It is so simple. It it doesn't cost money. it doesn't actually affect your day to day. We almost all of us have the privilege of being able to do this, and it's to speak
Mm.
to your child. If
And
you think
listen.
and listen, and yeah, that's very important. But you know, if you go back to your parents, did you ever? Well, I'm going to be honest. I never sat down to talk to my mom about my what was going through my mind, my problems.
No.
I would never speak to her, and she would never speak to me. And I know this is not, this is, she did the best she could with what she had. I'm clear
Yeah.
of that. I'm very grateful. My mom is my superhero, but I never had that. I never had a conversation about my period with my mom. I never had a conversation about sex with my mom. I never had a conversation about life with my mom. I never had a conversation about college with my mom. I never had a conversation about my boyfriends with my mom. I so then that's when you just go to your friends and you speak to them. So for me, my daughter has been in therapy since she's 4 years old. And I remember I said when I had my child, I am going to do everything in my power to raise my child different than how they raised me. And this is nothing. I am so grateful for my mom. I'm super grateful. I'm grateful for the love of my father. I am super grateful. He could have done things differently, but I'm not here to judge. But that was my main goal. And my daughter started to have like these night terrors, and I took her to therapy immediately. And till this day, my daughter is 11 years old. My daughter goes to therapy.
I
And my
love
son,
it.
which just turned 3, he has a bit of a temper, and as well, therapy. And you're
I
like, how can
love
a
that.
3-year-old go to therapy? It's not there. He doesn't sit down with the therapist to talk to them. But everything that we have in our hand, our brain, is the most important organ we have. And it is the less seen organ of all of them. And it's diminished. Like what you said, us as Latinas, our parents tell us, oh, you can do anything. Oh, my mom, that's an invisible loyalty. Una lealtad invisible that I had with my mom. That if I wasn't working like a crazy person, no wonder I got sick. I didn't feel well. Till this day, I was talking to my team. We have a meeting on Monday, and I was talking to my team and my manager, and I was like, telling her, like, I'm working this in therapy because if I am not going freaking 5,000 miles per hour, I don't feel that I am doing enough.
Yes. I can totally relate to that.
And
And
and I told,
I was
can you
having this
relate?
conversation today with my publicist, and she was like, "Oh, it's kind of quiet right now." I said, "Yeah, I don't like it. I need to feel like there's activity, like there's frenetic energy
Right.
happening, so I know that I'm doing something and that things are happening, because I get very uncomfortable with that lull. I get very, very, it makes me anxious.
Oh my God,
So
you
I
and me were like sisters that they separated us when we were born. I can completely understand. But you know what the worst part is? I was saying this was going out of my mouth, and I've told my husband. I've spoke so much about this because when I had like my big mental health fall, it was like it's gonna be 3 years in January. I had to stop. There was pandemic. I was pregnant. I had my baby. I had to move to my mother-in-law's house because they were remodeling this apartment. So I was like totally out. I gained like I think it was 48 pounds. I don't remember, something like that. Like it was completely. I was
out of control.
out of control. And then I tell my husband to this day, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm doing 3,000 things talking to you. Literally, like if I would put the camera over there, you would say, where are you, Glency? Are you freaking in I don't know, Amazon with all this clothes, like just in racks? No, it's because I'm working. And my husband says, no, you're incredible. You would complain that you had too much things and you were miserable, and now you want to go back. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Well, I think I just think we're human beings. It's like you can never be completely happy with everything. It's
But childhood has a lot to do. And tell me if I'm talking too much, but this is super important. I think us as Latinas, I don't know if this happens a lot with Americans, North Americans, but we are raised to support everything and anything. And it's like you can't, it's like if you're gonna get a badge for the mom that suffers the most, it's like you're gonna get a freaking trophy for the mom that doesn't need help. It's like they're gonna give you freaking a little yellow star and stick it in your forehead like you're in kindergarten. It's like you suffer, you raise those kids alone. No,
I wrote
no,
an article about martyrs. I
yeah,
think we tend to and
definitivamente.
it comes from generations. It's not just my mother. It's my mother's mother and her
Yeah,
mother. It's to me that's the type of trauma because
yeah,
I've had to figure out how to break that mentality so my daughter doesn't have it.
yeah.
Thank you God she doesn't. And thank you me and her father because we're like, no, this is not okay. That's a
But you
lot
know
of
what?
pressure.
You know what? I always say it. I've known. I don't know a person that has suffered so much like my mom. Like I don't even know how she did it. Like what my mom went through, it's not normal. But you know what's the weird part, and which is even messed up, but I'm working on it. Sometimes I look at my daughter and I tell my husband, I'm like, but I need her to have a little bit more drive. And my daughter, she's freaking in fifth grade and she's on a pensum credits of an eighth grader. Like she's amazing. And she's so, but you have that in your head. And my husband's like, he says, contrólate, contrólate, Artemia, my mom's name. Contrólate, Temi, contrólate, because I'm like, she has this. And then I'm like, okay, Glency, come on, back and relax. You see how it
Yeah.
is?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, my gosh, you've experienced so much, but I am sure that you now have a better understanding of your needs, your limits, and how to keep things balanced for the most part. Because I think we all have to tweak as
Yeah.
we go. So, as a busy mom, entrepreneur, wife, sister, friend, everything, it can be a lot, and you mentioned it earlier on. You know, it's not that you're doing it all, but you are kind of doing it all. Maybe not all at the same time, but you're doing it all.
Yeah.
What are two things that you do to ensure that Glency gets some joy in her life? Any best practices?
The first thing is I always try to fill my cup. As Oprah
Oh,
said,
yes.
you can't fill anybody else's cup if your jar isn't full. And that took me a lot of time, a lot of therapy, and a lot of money of therapy to understand
And
that.
it takes constant practice because it's easy to revert back.
Yeah, you forget. I'm so grateful for learning that, because before it was like, how am I gonna help somebody if I'm not okay? Now definitely I am a priority. I love my kids to death. I would give my life and I wouldn't even blink. I love my husband. I'm so grateful for my work, my team. But if Glency is not okay, it's not gonna work. So today, today, I just dropped one of the biggest contracts I have on social media. No, I dropped it.
You
No, no.
dropped it.
Yeah, like I said no, because my peace and me doing what I love and what It was seriously, it wasn't even about, it was about peace. Right now, that is my main goal, for me to have peace and enjoy. I know there's going to be moments you're not going to enjoy everything you work in, but at least I have to have peace in it.
Mm.
If I don't have
Well,
peace,
I'll clap to that. I'll clap to that.
so today is a bittersweet moment for some of the people in my team, but they understood,
You put
and
yourself first.
I was like, no, I need peace, and I think this has to do a lot. As much as we put effort, let's go. Let's be really girly here. You want nice hair, right? You want your hair to be beautiful. So what do? You take care of it, right? Let's do girl math here.
Makes
So
sense.
you take care of it, you put nice products, you invest in products, you invest in Googling, you invest in getting the best stylist. So I just do the same in my life. What do? I
Mm.
Google, I get the best therapist, I try a little bit of everything. I take moments for me. I try to full my jar so I can full everybody else's cup.
Oh, I love that. Now, one of the things that I like to do when we end our interviews is give our community, and there's been so much that we've talked about, but some piece of advice, a quote or mantra to help them as they're going through through their own journey. And some people, and you mentioned it early on, some people may look at your life and say, "Wow, she has it all." But perception but no, I knew you were gonna laugh. But perception is not always reality, especially when it comes to mental health. No one knows what's going on in that head. What is one of the greatest lessons you have taken from overcoming your struggles as it relates to your mental health that can help anyone in our community who is trying to manage their own mental health?
Okay, you want the? I'm gonna give you this in a story, and it was one of the most special, super short. It was, I think, the best advice and, well, the best reflection I've had. There was this empire that had this king, and he decided to get the best people around him to assist him and do like all the work, intellectual work he needed. So he got this team, amazing team. What happened? They went into war. When they went into war, the prince had to hide in the cave. The king had to go hide in the caves because they were going to kill him. So he's like, "Oh, where's all these people I got? Like, where are they now? I need them. I need them. I need them." And they went to the caves and they tell him, "This, well, this will pass. This will pass. Esto pasará." Sorry, I'm translating my accent. And eventually it did. He had to hide in the caves and all that. He was back at his palace. So everything was great. The empire was blooming. Everything was amazing. So he's in a dinner with all of his right hands and all of his amazing team. And they tell him, he's like, "Oh, like we're that this is in history. This is so good. This is the best moment of our life." And they said, "This too shall pass."
Oh.
So the bad moments will pass, the good moments will pass too. It all depends on you
I'm
and
gonna
how's your intake of each and every one of these moments. You can't depend only on having a what are good moments so you can have a good life or a good mood or good circumstances, or bad moments to have a bad mood or bad circumstances. It's all in you. And that was, it says, todo pasará, todo
oh,
pasará. The good, the bad, lo más o menos.
I actually have that phrase in my book. It got me
You do?
through it
Oh
got
my
me through
God.
a lot. I remember, I had a during the time when I had the episode of depression, it was after divorce, and I there's this song, and I'm gonna send you the link. It's called "By the Grace of God" by Katy Perry, and I remember my sister told me, she said, "You're in hell right now, and all I need you to know is that this too shall pass." and I believe that I was saved for something bigger.
Oh, that's amazing. You're gonna make me
I'm
cry.
sorry.
That's
I'm
that's
sorry.
amazing. No, that's amazing. You know what? It's like when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere else you can go. But or you stay there or you go up. And I don't
Yeah.
with my little story, I don't want to, discourage people and say, "Oh, the good moments are going to pass." No, it's
No,
just to let you know that it depends on you. And it's not we're going to be a Barney, oh, super happy when we're in a bad situation. Of course not.
but
But
enjoy those moments because it's not always going to be that way. Good or bad,
exactly.
this too shall pass. I
Yep.
absolutely agree.
And it depends on us to see the light in the darkness, and it's never it's closest to the sun coming out when it's the darkest.
That's the perfect way to end this. Glency, thank you so much.
Thank
You
you.
are you're my girl, man. I know
uh
we I
I'm
love you for
bella.
being here, for sharing your story with the world, not just my platform, not just your platform, but just sharing it because I think people need to know that no matter how filtered, this life that we live, whether it's on
Yeah,
Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, life is just not perfect for
it's
anyone. And it
not.
doesn't matter how much money you have, how much fame, none of that matters. It really
None of
doesn't.
it. None of it. And I want to end with this. I always say this, and it's I don't have my shit together. Pardon my
None of us
French.
do, girl. I'm
I
a work in
I
progress.
like I am a work in progress. Like social media, all that filter, those filtered pictures, and like that's why I love my stories. That's why I love TikTok. That's why I love keeping it real because I know that it can be overwhelming, but I have so much to do and I'm excited to actually put in the work to be a better Glency tomorrow.
Ah, well, I love you. We love you.
I
Can
love
you
you. Thank you.
can you please share with our listeners how they can find you?
Of course, arroba Glency Feliz. I started to pronounce my name as it is in English because I
Ah,
want people to stay my roots to say how they are. So I'm not going to be saying Glency Felix. No, it's Glency Feliz. Glency
that's right.
Feliz.
You are a blessing to the world. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, my lovelies, for joining us on this episode of AW Confidential. We will talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.